This is the Sunday school lesson for today. A little adjustment here. 3rd John. This is the third epistle of John, third to last book in the Bible. Let's start with prayer. Father, I pray you guide this morning's Sunday school time for your glory. I praise you, God, in Christ's name. Amen. The third epistle of John begins, the elder under the well-beloved Gaius, whom I love in the truth. So the recipient of this letter is Gaius. He is likely from what is now western Turkey. The letter is probably borne to him by a man named Demetrius, who will be mentioned in this little short letter. Some scholars, like Zane Hodges, as with 2nd John, think this could have been written as early as the 60s AD, but in reality it's probably written in the 90s, not too long before the Apostle John goes off to the island of Patmos in exile. So again, he says that he loves Gaius in the truth. Again, truth and love always go together. If you love somebody, you'll tell them the truth. And we have a bond in the truth about Jesus that is greater than any other bond we can possibly have, and creates the deepest love we can possibly have for one another. Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospereth. So our soul's most important, and that's a good opportunity for me to mention the fact that while we are concerned about physical health, the coronavirus and all of that, pretty soon we need to be getting back, if we can, to having regular church, because our souls are even more important. We wouldn't want anyone to be out there and die spiritually, eternally, just because we're worried about physical death. Those of us who are Christians don't necessarily have to worry about that. Now, that's not a dig on anyone, and if you feel it's a while before you need to come back, we'll still have the Facebook Live thing working. But pretty soon, we need to get back to regular worship in the sanctuary. For I rejoice greatly when the brethren came and testified of the truth that is in thee, even as thou walkest in the truth. So, just saying you believe the truth is a good thing, but walking in it, living it, means you really do. I have no greater joy than to hear that my children walk in truth. Beloved, verse 5, thou doest faithfully whatsoever thou doest to the brethren and to strangers. Now here he probably means brethren, Christian teachers and leaders that have come along, because that's going to become part of the topic in this letter, that he's taking care of them. He's exercising hospitality to them. Strangers are probably other Christians who are traveling, probably not in reference to non-Christians, but you take care of Christian leaders and any other brother or sister in Christ that's traveling, because the role of hospitality was crucial in the propagation of the gospel in a day when there were very few hotels, and that would have been a big expense if there were. They just hosted one another. And again, that's a big topic in this particular short book in the Bible, which have borne witness of thy charity before the Lord, before the church rather, whom if thou bring forward on their journey after a godly sort, thou shalt do well. Again, some of these Christian teachers have said to John, look, you can really count on Gaius and some of the Christian leaders there to take care of us, because that for his name's sake they went forth, taking nothing of the Gentiles, and there Gentiles means non-Christians. It could be Jewish or Gentile Christians, but he's using that as a kind of a code word here, that they're not taking anything from the world. And folks, again, the Sunday school lesson becomes relevant to our day. We don't need the government support. I know that some churches are accepting government support during this COVID time, and I'm not judging them. Under the Lordship of Christ, they have to do what they think is best. But we have a long-standing tradition in the free church tradition, in Baptist churches. We don't need the government's money. When we take the government's money, we often take the government's control, and we don't need anything from lost people. If a person comes here and they don't know the Lord, obviously if they put money in the offering, we don't, hand it back to them. But we're not asking for people's money. We don't want anyone to come here and say, well, all they want from us is their money. All Christians, nope. Come hear the gospel. When you get saved and God lays it on your heart, that's when you're called to give. We therefore ought to receive such that we might be fellow helpers to the truth. So he's saying we need to be definitely involved in the support of ministry. Again, I hear people say from time to time, how about people on the other side of the globe that have never heard the gospel? What will God do with them? Again, refer you to Romans chapter 1, especially verse 20. But if you're concerned about the lost on the other side of the globe, give to the International Mission Board of the Southern Baptist Convention. Support those missionaries that are going with your prayers, first of all, and also with your finances. Then verse 9, the topic perhaps that he wrote more than anything, there's someone here that's trying to put a little bit of trouble in the works of helping God's people do God's work. I wrote unto the church, but Diotrephes, who loveth to have the preeminence among them, receiveth us not. So here we have this person named Diotrephes. He could be jealous of Christian leaders, missionaries that have come in, evangelists, because he's jealous of them and he wants to be the big shot. He may have even destroyed this previous letter. John says that he wrote to them, but they apparently didn't get the letter. It could be Diotrephes was a power broker and got rid of it. Diotrephes also may have been a noble name, thereby adding to his arrogance. He may have thought, man, I'm a big shot. I'm a patron of other Christians and of other people, and I can do what I want because I've got money. That works in this world. Anyone that doesn't think that's how this world works, I believe is, in due respect, a little naive. It can't work that way in God's church. And John says that he's going to tell him about it. Verse 10, wherefore if I come, and again in the Greek language, if and since are much more closely related than they are in English. If I come, I will remember his deeds which he doeth, prating against us with malicious words, and not content therewith, neither doth he himself receive the brethren, and forbiddeth them that would, and casteth them out of the church. John says, I'm going to tell him face to face. Now, John's a fairly elderly time by this time of his life, if he writes in the 90s AD, as we think he did. But old man or not, he says, if I come there, I'm going to talk to him about it. We're not going to be just writing letters. I'm going to get up in his face and say, Diotrephes, this isn't going to get it. This old man's got some spunk because he's got the power of God in his life. Beloved, verse 11, follow not that which is evil, but that which is good. He that doeth good is of God, but he that doeth evil hath not seen God. So he says to follow good and not evil. And the word here for follow, there are various words for follow, but this word for follow is the Greek word memu. It comes from the Greek word, the Greek verb memetomai, from which we get mimic in our English language. Imitate good. Don't imitate evil. My brothers and sisters, everybody's imitating something. Everybody's modeling something. We all have, hey, here's the pattern. Here's how the experts in something are doing it. But the reality is, you better imitate good and not evil. One of the most important qualifications I have as pastor is to be an example to the flock. I take that more seriously than anything, I hope, or certainly should. He says also in this word, he that doeth good is of God, but he that doeth evil hath not seen God. And again, there's more than one word in the Greek language for see. This is the word heorake from haracho. And the word harao in the Greek language, it means to know by experience and seeing. Sometimes in English it's translated to know, other times it's translated to see, because it's where experiential knowledge is involved. But that which you see, that which you witness, that which you have mimicked, you do. The one that mimics evil hasn't mimicked God, hasn't seen God, hasn't experienced God. Now here's probably Diotrephes' main problem. I'm going to preach for a second during the Sunday school lesson. Diotrephes could be lost. Through the years that I've been a pastor, I've kept it strong in mind that only God knows if a person is or isn't a Christian. If they claim to be a Christian, I have to assume they are. But if someone's mean and hateful, they oppose everything the pastor and other Christian leaders do, they're resentful, They still understand the world in a power broker mentality rather than a salvation by grace mentality. They're kind of works oriented. Good chance a lot of the troublemakers in local churches have one simple problem: they don't know Jesus. They know some quotes about Jesus, they probably know some doctrine, but they don't personally, relationally, experientially know Christ. Their heart doesn't have any love in it. Then he moves to the possible person who brought this letter to Gaius, Demetrius. He says, Demetrius hath good report of all men, and of the truth itself, yea, and we also bear record, and you know that our record is true. Now there's another Demetrius mentioned in Acts 19:24 as being a maker of silver idols to the goddess Diana, who causes all kind of trouble. Probably not the same Demetrius, a common name. But if it by any chance is the same one, then he's simply gotten saved and his heart's been changed. But probably it's actually two different people. But this Demetrius, who probably brings this letter, John's going to give him some commendation, and he's going to say, this is somebody you can trust, you can put your confidence in, and he's my true representative. He's somebody that John wants them to listen to. Then he says, verse 13, which we could easily pass through and just dismiss, but it really has an important message, because he says, I had many things to write, but I will not with ink and pen write unto thee. But I trust I shall shortly see thee. Again, back to the fact that he said, if I come, he's planning on coming. But I trust I shall shortly see thee, and we shall speak face to face. Peace be to thee. Our friends salute thee. Greet the friends by name, other Christians. John says, I've written you this short letter because it was necessary. Diotrephes has to be slowed up, and Demetrius is the kind of person you ought to listen to. But I really don't want to just write letters. I want to come talk to you. Now, we're thankful John wrote letters. We're thankful Paul wrote letters from prison because he couldn't be there with people. Those, as this does, become a part of the canon of Holy Scripture. And God in His sovereignty made that happen. But isn't it good that John wanted to talk to them? I don't just want to write you a letter. In our day, we might say, I'm not just going to shoot you a text. I want to come talk to you. And we're in the midst of a context now where we have a lot of social distancing, and we have that longing to be with other people. Well, John did too. He didn't want to just write letters. He wanted to come face to face, talk with them, give them a hug, share with them the truth, and enjoy their fellowship as they enjoyed his. This has just been a short kind of devotional for the Sunday school lesson this morning. Remember, at 11 o'clock, we are going to be having our special service, drive-in service. We hope you'll be there. Lord, I pray and thank you for this time. In Jesus' name, amen.